It's a book by Dustin Weaver called Packless. It's 3 different stories in each issue. So each issue is like 12 to 15 pages of a different story, but each issue follows the same 3 stories. So it's pretty cool. He draws, he pencils it and writes it all by himself. He does everything all by himself. It looks great too.
All right, we're getting going here. Good start broadcast on.
He did a lot of Hickman's Avengers and Fantastic Four. Did a lot of the art.
Intro. All right, want to make sure. Episode 9. Everything's filled in. Oh, I'm getting that crazy feedback again.
I'm not getting it. Everything's fine for me.
All right. It's probably. I think it's your air conditioner. Is that what it
could
is?
be. Hold on.
Oh, let me get away from that vent too. Oh shit.
How about now?
Yeah,
shouldn't
that's
really
better.
be able to hear it now. Yeah. All right. Cool. So it's on low. It doesn't make any kind of real noise when it's on low. Man, I hate it when books come with posters. Like, what do they do? Expect you to pull open the staples to get the poster out? Like, I'm not taking that chance.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Ready?
Wow. Amazing.
Make sure my voice is good here. All right. Actually, I'm going to swap my headphones. It might be my fucking headphones, these goddamn things.
Trying to get some of that old Greg Capullo Spawn stuff. I just got this cool book called Haunt, written by Robert Kirkman, and it's penciled by Greg Capullo and inked by Todd McFarlane. It's fucking pretty
All
cool
right.
book.
That's better. Those my stupid headphones too.
Spawn 275.
All right, here we go. All right, how we doing, guys? Welcome to Marvel Madness Comics Podcast. This is episode number 9. I'm Brandon. I'm joined, of course, by fellow co-host Carl. Carl, how we doing?
Good, man.
Good. Trevitt, how we doing?
Pretty good.
All right. So we got all 3 of us in action again this week, and we're bringing you a special 4th of July edition of Marvel Madness here for you guys. No breaks. So it helps recording on Sunday night also when everybody's all done with everything. So that's a contributing factor to our recording schedule. But we're going to get into our mission statement here, how you can get a hold of us. Before we get into some news and some books for tonight. So let's get the housekeeping, so to speak, out of the way. We highlight 3 to 4 books for you guys each week, so you luck out this week. We're going to do 4. We hope to provide you guys a bit of the glimpse into the Marvel comic book universe. In between talking books, we mix things up a little bit. We give you the latest news, highlight some of the latest titles, go over the characters, some fun facts about them, and just general going-ons in the Earth Prime. Or whatever it's called. So if I'm calling it something wrong, please somebody correct me. But that's what I know it to be called as of right now. We try to cover a variety of titles each month to avoid any repetitiveness in an attempt to keep things fresh and informative for you guys, the listeners. And we divide the books up into 3 categories, basically, and we're each responsible for one of those. I do the Spider family books, so any Spider-esque title. That's me. Carl, you want to explain the hero family there for everybody?
Yeah, I do everything hero, villain, team related that's not X-Men led, Inhuman led, or Spider Man led. Basically, I cover everything else.
Yeah. And then Trevitt, you cover I call it the IVX section, but if you want to explain that real quick.
It's just the Inhumans. Anything that has anything to do with Inhumans or X-Men. Some stuff falls under the umbrella. Like Deadpool isn't technically a mutant, but since he debuted in X-Force,
New Mutants,
Yeah, New Mutants X, end of New Mutants, beginning of X-Force, I claim him under my umbrella. So certain things fall under like that, but
yeah. So that's how we divide everything up, so nobody's too strapped with work, and then we all contribute to maybe an event book. So for example, like next week, instead of Secret Empire, where we're going to mix things up a little bit, give you Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe, kind of like a mini series event book type thing. So that's always a group effort from everybody. We cover all titles. We rate them honestly on an overall scale of either buy it, so meaning buy it now, borrow it means get a code from a friend, or just swipe that book from your friend when he's not looking, or gives it to you to borrow, or forget it altogether means don't drop a dime on that book, don't read it, and unless it's laughably bad, and then read it and laugh about it. Generation X #1, for example, is one of those that we covered here.
Oh boy,
God.
Even though some people do like that was probably, I don't know, the one that we hated most on the podcast in 9 episodes, I would say.
Yeah.
Although Secret Empire is creeping up there for me. But anyway, if you are looking to get a hold of us, we have some ways you guys can do that. We can be found on Twitter, and that's at MadnessMarvel1. We can be found on Gmail, and that's at marvelmadnesspod@gmail.com. So if you're looking to email in the show, you have any opinions, suggestions for us, if we're neglecting a book you want to hear about, suggest we cover it, send us an email, let us know. We'll be happy to do that for you guys, or whatever the hell else is on your marvelous mind. That's what that stuff is for. So DM us, that's all open. And if you do happen to rate or review us, do so on iTunes, let us know. We'll send you, some free Marvel digital codes for going through that trouble. But, that helps spread the word, gets Marvel Madness Comics podcast out there, and, increases the listenership. So any way you can help us out, we'll compensate you for your troubles. And we do also tweet out. We had a couple go out this week as well. Some digital codes for books and stuff. They pop up on Twitter. But you got to be quick to get those. That's a first come, first serve basis. So now that basic bit stuff is all out of the way, did I miss anything? I cover all bases there, guys?
You covered all bases.
I think so.
Yeah, okay. We're going to move on to Trevitt's news, and then place a cut in here. All right. So, Trevitt, why don't you take it away with the news? Let us know what's going on. It's probably all legacy, huh?
Yeah, pretty much. I had to, milk that legacy cow just so I could get some news in this episode, because San Diego Comic-Con's coming up in a few weeks. I think the weekend of the 19th. So news is pretty dry right now because of that. And I think
about this time.
Yeah, and when that weekend comes upon us, I think we're going to be overwhelmed with the news that's going to come out. So let's enjoy the slow news while we can. But there's tons of cool stuff from Marvel Legacy. Here's some of it. So we have some news this week from Marvel Legacy. They did drop storyline titles and all the Legacy numbers for the books. One thing that stood out to me was that we're getting a new Moon Knight series after the Jeff Lemire run, which was fantastic, with art by Greg Smallwood. And I they didn't announce any creative teams yet because they're probably going to do it at San Diego Comic-Con, but I can't help but wonder who's going to be writing and penciling this book. And one thing I hope it's not is another series about the psyche of Mark Spector, because we already got a very, I love Jeff Lemire's run, and but I want to see Moon Knight just be a superhero. It'd be like a little, he could still be crazy, but I just want to see him be a superhero. I mean, we got that with the 12-issue Bendis run. We got that with this 14-issue Lemire run, and I just don't want to see it again for a while.
Yeah, right. That's a good call.
I don't want to see the mental health character study of Mark Spector again. I just want to see him,
you can make him crazy, be a crazy hero, but the focus of the book doesn't need to be just him being, crazy and sorting that all out in his mind. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we've had that a bunch of times. We don't need it again. But there's a bunch of others I got. So first, I wanted to go through some of the legacy numbering. So we have Amazing Spider-Man at 789, and that means at this moment in time, it's going to be the longest running Marvel series, which I assume would have been Fantastic Four if it was still around all the way, if it didn't take that big break of disappearing because, they don't have the movie rights. So they stopped making the comic. That and the comic wasn't selling well anyway. The only people who really want a Fantastic Four book are the diehard fans.
Yeah. Yeah, the Marvel zombies that buy every book, regardless of how good they are anyway.
And I love the Fantastic Four. You could do really cool things with their powers, but it's very easy to make them lame. They're like a hard team to write, so you got to get the creative team perfect if you're going to bring that book back out. Yeah, you can't just. But coming in second for long-running Marvel books, we got the Incredible Hulk, which is going to be at 709, and then right behind that, we got the Mighty Thor, which is going to be at issue 700. Now, those are the biggest numbers. There are only 2 more titles that have anything close to that big. Everything else is like 200s and 300s. The only other titles would be Daredevil, which is at 595, and Invincible Iron Man, which is very close to that at 593.
Avengers is at 672 too.
Is it going to be at 672? Because I didn't see Avengers on that list. I must have glazed over.
I tweeted the one out on the Make Marvel Mine banner on our Twitter account, and it does have like a list of the titles and the numbers here. And all
right, because I have the banner.
Yeah, that's the one I'm looking at. Avengers is under Astonishing X-Men and above Ben Reilly. It does say 672 there.
I didn't even notice that.
One should be.
So I didn't even mention Avengers. I overlooked that shit.
Yeah, and then just going through the rest of the list, there's a bunch that are 2, and like Despicable Deadpool's 287.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, but then a lot of them are just kind of continuing titles from what we have now, And
Worlds Collide Part 1.
There.
Yeah, Venom's already there. They, did that big celebration for that. Look at that. Captain Marvel 125, Cable 150, Black Panther 166.
What I'll say is strange though is that they're doing an Ultimates 100 in August, and then Ultimates isn't on here. Like, is it canceled after 100? Are they getting 100th issue out there and then canceling it?
I thought that was weird. I also think it's weird. Books like Uncanny Avengers, which had series before this and should probably be in like the 50s or 60s, is still at the numbering that it's on pace to be.
Yeah,
so I thought that was weird.
Yeah,
Weapon X has had tons of different series. Yeah, no legacy numbering for Weapon X. There's a few books that I think have legacy numbers, but don't.
So convoluted. It's just like a collection of different miniseries, so they don't.
Yeah, because it's a team book. So it's just. Still kind of weird. Jessica Jones too. Jessica Jones had series before. There are a couple books, but I think. And Champions, Defenders. Those 2 series aren't going to legacy numbering, and those Defenders have been around forever. And so is
like
Champions.
A half measure, but there's some also that they slid in there, like Iron Fist 73. It's going to be.
Yeah.
And
that should be. I think,
so Luke Cage 166. So
but, and there's also titles
going on with numbers.
And there's also titles that are going to be coming out around that time that they didn't even list. I don't know why. Like Captain America is going to have a book, but it's just not on that list for some reason. And then there are a couple other books that are going to be continuing through then that I just didn't see on that list. But, we'll get more. They're just trickling out information, so we'll know more. Comic-Con, we're going to know everything. Who's writing Cap, because it's like a big thing about who's writing Cap right now. There's only 52 on
this list that I count, and they said there's 53 coming out, but I think there's even more than 53 coming out.
I think
that's still a low number for Marvel.
And there's a lot of speculation about Captain America right now because people thought Tanishi Coates was going to be writing it. There's talk of Donnie Coates or Cates or whatever. He's going to be like co-writing it. And then I heard a rumor about Mark Waid and Chris Samney. So who the hell knows?
Yeah, because Captain America's continuing in August, and that's not on this list either. So that's not a full list.
It's weird. But we also got storylines, and I got some information. I got some little news about storylines. So Iron Man is going to be the search for Tony Stark, so I guess that's going to put us on the path to getting the real Tony Stark back. And then Thor is going to be the death of Mighty Thor. So I'm guessing because Jane Foster, every time she uses that hammer, it kills her a little more. And, she could stay a god and never turn back human ever. I mean, unless she loses the hammer, but and just live forever as the Mighty Thor female god form. But, if she goes back to being human eventually, her body's just going to kick out on her and she's going to die. So I guess that's what this is going to be about. Maybe they're going to bring back Odinson. Something in Generations is going to lead to that, possibly, hopefully. I don't know. But we'll probably get more answers about that. I'm sure people are going to be speculating the hell out of it. It also looks like we're getting an X-Men crossover because X-Men Blue and X-Men Gold are Mojo World. Part 1 is, Part 1 and Part 2 is each an issue of Gold and Blue, so that's going to be a little crossover. I've never been a big fan of Mojo, but
yeah, I didn't like
whatever.
Mojo either.
The Marvel 2-in-1 is called The Fate of the Four, and I'm thinking since it's about Johnny Storm and Ben Grimm, quite possibly we'll get some information about what's happening with Sue and Reed, possibly, maybe, who knows. And then there's one more thing I got that was interesting. The rest of the stuff was just, you didn't really know. Like Jean Grey said Psych War. I couldn't even ponder what that could possibly be about. But
Yeah.
those are the titles of books that, you can kind of, if you read them or if you know what's going on in those books, you can kind of guess what's going to happen. But one more thing that sounds pretty awesome is the Amazing Spider-Man Renew Your Vows is going to be jumping ahead 8 years in the future. I forget how old exactly Annie Mae Parker is, but I'm sure this is going to make her somewhere in the early teens.
High school
like
age, smack dabs high school age, I'm
Yeah.
sure, yeah.
So the whole dynamic of that book is going to change when that happens. It'll be the same character, same book, but yeah, it's going to be real interesting. If it could be pulled off very nicely. I mean, Jerry Conway so far, that series is awesome. Like I really enjoy every single issue, so I have no doubt that it's going to be good. I mean, this guy's been writing.
Some people will like it, and then other people will just be like, "I wish they brought back Earth 2 Spider Girl." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I heard that was really popular. I read a lot about that series.
Yeah, it was really popular. But
I
just thought I'd mention this randomly for news. Interrupt real quick. We are at, for a total of 9 episodes, 420 downloads. I just wanted to mention that. The end.
Oh, that's nice. Nice.
420, nice round number. Anyway.
420, my favorite number.
All right, finish up the news here, and we're going to get going to Doctor Strange is going to be the first book up. Any other storylines that were of interest?
No, I peeked through every single one of them, and those are the only ones that like popped out at me where I could gather an idea of what was going to happen. Everything else was just like, cool names. Like that.
Did you see the list at all, Carl?
No, I didn't see the list.
Talking about? Oh, okay, because I was going to ask everybody to go through the list real quick and mention like 2 storylines that interest them the most. Because Trevor just highlighted probably like 3 that he'd like. That I obviously would like the 8 years later Renew Your Vows one is pretty interesting to me. And then obviously being the Spider guy, Fall of Parker, finally, meaning Parker Industries, I imagine, for Spider-Man 789. Sounds pretty cool. And then for Miles, maybe we'll finally get some action in a Miles book because it does say Sinister Six Reborn.
That looks pretty cool.
So yeah, maybe we're finally getting Miles into a fight here that isn't just some, random occurrence on the street on his way to another conversation. So that's where my fingers are crossed in that book. We get a big, Miles story.
There are a couple more I forgot. There's the Frank Castle War Machine. That looks pretty cool.
Yeah, that should be interesting.
What else? Psych War just sounds awesome. It just sounds like a bunch of psychics are going to go to war with each other. So that sounds pretty cool for Jean Grey. Not Generation X, although it does say OG Gen X, which I guess means a bunch of old team. The old team might be in place. But Guardians of the Galaxy Infinity Quest. That sounds cool because right now they're looking for some Infinity Stones. So we haven't seen the Infinity Stones since Captain America shattered them trying to push one of the incursion worlds away. So that's going to be nice.
Yeah, they were in Secret Wars. Black Panther used them pretty much towards the end of the story. But that was the last.
Oh, use them again?
Yeah, that was the last point I saw them.
That's weird because they all shattered to pieces. They must have been from like another universe or something. Because
at Secret Wars, everything was on the table in that
alternate universe,
all scattered throughout the different lands. But do you find it, Carl, at all or no?
Yeah, I got it.
You got 2 that are grabbing your attention off the bat.
Doctor Strange 381, Loki Sorcerer Supreme.
Oh, 381 too. That's cool. I don't believe I kept looking over that one.
And then Defenders number 6, Kingpins of New York. Just continuing what we got going for Defenders, but That one sounds pretty cool. And there's one more. I skipped it. One.
I thought you were gonna say Hulk.
The Hulk one?
The
Yeah, 'cause
Slinger's
I don't know.
Return.
Because
Return to Planet
Planet
Hulk.
Hulk does sound interesting.
Yeah.
But
It's
just
not
in
Banner,
time
though. It's
for-
going to be
it's going to be Cho,
Yeah.
but it's just in time for that movie
Yeah.
for Ragnarok.
I heard
So you might see
they are.
Banner come back.
I heard they are bringing Banner back because they claim and they promise that all of our favorite characters are going to come back. So we'll see.
We'll talk a little Bruce Banner here later on. But let's get down to the nitty gritty of it all. Our book section number 1. We're going to start off with Carl's book. Hopefully he can explain to me some of the questions I have about what's going on here, because I didn't have time to read 1 through 8, obviously, of that on top of everything else I was trying to get done this week. So Doctor Strange, Sorcerer Supreme, number 9. You got the solicit and stuff up?
Yeah, I got it.
All right, so take it from here. Carl's going with his book in the hero section.
So, Doctor Strange, Sorcerer Supreme, number 9. Sir Isaac Newton, Sorcerer Supreme of his day, has mastered an ancient evil magic and has gone power mad. It's up to the Sorcerer Supreme to stop him from sending the world and all of their own individual timelines into chaos. Unfortunately, even with the Avengers on their side, it seems like they still have no match for Newton. And that is written by Robert Thompson. Shit. Everything went crazy on my side. I switched pages.
That's all right. We can cut this blank section out.
Next book. Okay. Writer Robbie Thompson. Penciler Javier Rodriguez. Inker Alvaro Lopez. Colorist Jody Belair. And letters is VC Joe Caramanga. So, unfortunately, as awesome as that solicit sounded, it had nothing to do with what this book was.
Yeah, that happens a lot. That's not like new comic news, really.
No. Yeah, I know
sometimes
that. Sometimes
the solicits really lead you down a path that's never going to where you expect it.
Yeah, so when I picked the book, I read the solicit, and I'm like, oh, hell yeah, this is going to be one heck of a ride. You don't see... I mean, I didn't see any of the Avengers in there, unless you count Wiccan being
a new Avenger. Yeah.
A young Avengers.
A young Avenger. But so they start off the book of the issue, and they're trapped inside of an ancient spell book.
The Word of God.
The Word of God.
Which is from the solicit.
Is it from the solicit?
Yeah, the Avengers were in the last issue. That's what the solicit was mentioning.
Okay. I didn't read the last issue. I read 9, and then I meant to go back and read 1 through 8, and I got stuck. So they're trapped inside the Word of God, and they're trying to get out. They're trying to find a way to get out of the spell book. And Doctor Strange comes up with a plan to rip out a page and show the big bad magic trick that is not showing any magic because their powers don't work where they're at. So Doctor Strange rips up this page, does origami, and makes it into a crane, and they fly off. And when the big bad goes to attack them because he sees a flaming dragon, they all jump off the origami crane, and it burns up, and he destroys the source of his power, which destroys him. And they are free, and Isaac Newton grabs a piece of the Word of God and, I guess, brings it into himself. I don't know exactly what happens on that page. He just snaps his fingers and it's gone, and they leave. So the first thing Wiccan does is put him in handcuffs, but he's using some dark magic called Scab. My notes are all messed up. Anyways, so they're locking Isaac Newton up, and they're getting ready to send everybody back to where they're going, releasing what Isaac took from everybody. And while Wiccan's sending people home back to their own timelines, he falls to the ground, looks like he died. And it says to be continued. It's a real quick issue to go through.
Yeah, I want to go back to the just the monster they were fighting in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
The goddamn hand monster. It was, first of all, this
that hand monster
made up of entirely just differently
made up of hands and arms.
Yeah. It looked like something out of Pan's Labyrinth a little bit.
It really did. It was like an acid trip.
Doctor Strange fights the most awesome villains. His
face is red and just everything else is blue except for he has pants on for some fucking reason.
I love what they did with that page of that book when they tore it out and made it into an origami dragon.
It's weird because it looks like a swan at first and then it turns into a dragon. I saw a dragon in the book. I thought they shaped it like
so. What it is it was an origami swan. And I guess Doctor Strange did some sort of magic spell to make it look like a dragon. Their powers aren't supposed to work where they're at, so I don't know how that works. But they roll with it because he says, if her power is not supposed to work, how is this happening? And Doctor Strange says, he sees a flaming dragon, doesn't he? And they just...
It's the book. It's the power of the book.
Power of the book.
Yeah.
But that was pretty much the biggest thing that happened in this entire book. They escape, they jump off the swan. They're basically pulling sleight of hand. He sees the dragon. He doesn't see the Sorcerer Supreme on his back. So when he fires his fireball attack at the flaming dragon, they jump off. Wiccan takes them all in his cloak and pulls everyone to safety. And by destroying that one piece of paper, he destroyed a part of the Word of God, which destroyed his power.
Destroy whose power?
They destroyed the hand monster's power.
Yeah. Who was the Isaac Newton was in the hand monster? Was that basically Isaac Newton?
Isaac Newton was the guy standing next to him with the staff with the red jewel in it.
Oh,
the overalls. And he was holding the guy that the hand monster was going to eat is the ancient one before he's the ancient one.
Yeah, I knew that part. I got lost with Isaac Newton showing up because some of the transitions in some of these panels are like, I don't know, the art is good, but it's very stiff. So like when you transition to another panel, I get lost in the transition sometimes about what the character's doing. Yeah. So that would just be, one of the things I would say. And then towards the end, because they didn't see this guy in the entire issue, so I assume he was in previous issues. And the furry, it looks like a furry monster with a Cyclops laser mask on. You know what I'm talking about? Because Wiccan brings him back to life.
Oh, you mean the mindful one?
Yeah, him. He wasn't in the beginning of the issue, right? He died in a previous issue. Had to have happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he comes back all of a sudden. I'm like, what? I don't remember that guy. So it's just we'll get to end thoughts here in a second, but some of the transitions for me as I'm going through this book were just raising more and more questions, and obviously I'm jumping in on issue 9 of a 9-issue series, so I only read the beginning, and it tells you a lot about Isaac Newton in the beginning of this book, and then you don't really see him until really the middle to end of it. So I expected him to play a little bit bigger of a part, because I like when the ancient 1800s, early 1900s science dudes end up being Sorcerer Supreme. Isn't Ben Franklin also in a lot of Deadpool books? He's kind of like always floating around too. He's doing something. I like those
I don't know.
characters. They're
Wasn't
fun.
Ben Franklin
never
in
read that.
wasn't Ben Franklin in Doctor Strange, and he cheated on slept with Doctor Strange's girlfriend at the
Yeah,
time?
we did that fact, but he always pops up in Deadpool. Like well, not a lot, but that's where he pops up most frequently lately anyway. As far as that Doctor Strange fact we did a few episodes back, I don't know when that was from, because those things I don't really like track down what issue it was from or anything like that. I just look for something crazy on the internet, I find. So
Yeah, that was the week that I was off, and I posted for my fact that in my notes was he fought God, when really it was just the God of the Marvel Universe.
oh yeah,
Way
you
back in the
start getting
60s.
into all that elder goddamn ancient ones and elder and celestial shit, you'll confuse yourself and go on for
The
days.
Eternals,
Yeah,
the
you'll just fucking
Celestials,
trying to figure all that out will give you a headache. But
Elders of the Universe, Living
as far as this
Tribunal.
book goes and ending thoughts, well, what would you say? Buy, borrow, or forget? Carl, why don't you kick it off since it's the hero section here?
Based on just this issue, I don't know. It was really hard to follow with the transition. I feel like I would like this story if I would have went back and read issues 1 through 8 as well as just this one. But doing that, I didn't do that. I'd have to say this is a forget it for me.
What about you, Trev? What do you think?
All right. Well, I read the first couple issues, and it really does. I mean, I missed the Avengers thing in the last issues, but I did flip through a bunch. I actually really enjoyed this issue. I really enjoyed the art. I like Javier Rodriguez. I like the work that I think he did some work on Daredevil that was really good during Mark Waid's era. I think he's done some Spider-Man too back in the day, some amazing Spider-Man, but just a few issues during I think like the Brand New Day period. Anyway, I enjoyed it. I like the color. I liked earlier in the series, Merlin brought all of them together. Like how the story started was back in the King Arthur days, Merlin locked up all these creatures and he ended up calling them the Forgotten because, he locked them away and forgot about them. So then they got loose and he had to gather all the Sorcerer Supremes together. He ended up dying in the first issue, but he had to gather all the Sorcerer Supremes together from the past and the future so that they could fight. It was a funny running joke because they referenced the last days of magic with the Empirical, because when Doctor Strange gets there and he just shows up with the axe and they're like, what the hell did you bring this clown for? He doesn't even really have any magic,
Yeah.
And then you get to see Wiccan, which I love because I'm a big Young Avengers fan, and I like. I mean, even it's not the Wiccan that we're used to, but I always knew that, like, one day he's going to be like this super super powerful character because he can basically just do whatever the hell he wants. So it was cool to see that he's the future Sorcerer Supreme of the Marvel Universe, even though that kind of contradicts what we've seen in Infamous Iron Man with Tony Stark being the future Sorcerer Supreme. But that's okay. The editorial didn't check. This
is a different editorial office probably, so they probably, you're right, didn't check at all.
Now the question is Wiccan the Sorcerer Supreme before Tony Stark is?
I don't know, because when in the issue of Infamous Iron Man, Tony Stark was like he was aged to the point where it's about the same age. Like Wiccan right here is like in his late 30s, early 40s, and Tony Stark was like in his 60s, 70s. So it's kind of around the same time. So because he was like a real old man with like a full head of gray hair. But
yeah,
anyway,
Marvel editorial is a mess right now. I think that's safe.
Yeah, they
safe
really
to
are.
Say. You got Iron Man books that have Tony Stark pretty much dead, just being an AI, but in Secret Empire he's walking around in a suit. Like that's a big fucking issue right now to me.
I really don't get how that AI walks around. We're definitely going to get into that when we talk about Secret Empire, because that just makes no fucking sense whatsoever. Some instances it does make sense, but there are some instances where he's just walking around as a hologram and is not, like, it's in a hallway and there's no like projectors anywhere. So how is he walking around? Like, it's just anyway. Jody Belair really came through on the colors in this issue. The colors were friggin' like, it was beautiful. It was super colorful. Like when that hand monster is holding the Ancient One, he's about to eat him, and what's it called? With Isaac Newton and that weird colored purple and pink guy that looks like he has heads and arms and legs all around him. I have no clue who that is either, but I think that's probably a few issues ago, because I was gonna read all of them up until this point, but I had like a little bit of a busy weekend, which just never happens for me. So I only got to read the first two and then this one. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I really liked the art. I do agree with you. The art can be a little stiff at times, but all in all, it was pretty good. I like seeing Doctor Strange together with all with all these other Sorcerers Supremes, and they go on all these crazy adventures through like Wonderland, basically through the Omniverse, with all these crazy places, just like in the movie Doctor Strange, where he first meets the Ancient One, and she's pushing him through like all those dimensions, and he's like, just like all the hands. Remember where he goes through like that little weird place where it's like all these hands, and then his fingers have hands growing out of them. It's just so fucking weird. This book is just like that scene, like, and every other issue before it is pretty much just like it. They even threw Howard the Duck in there. I think he just came in the last issue and he got trapped with them.
Yeah, he didn't seem too happy to be on with them at all. He was funny this issue. He had a few good jokes.
And he just takes off at the end, and I'm really interested to see what comes next. I'm definitely going to catch up with this series, and I am like this did hook me to want to know what happens with Wiccan, because he's holding that magic that he shouldn't be holding, but at the same time, how he said, like, it's become a part of him, and it makes him feel great, but at the same time, there's going to be some kind of consequence, because with magic there is always some kind of crazy consequence.
Yeah, it happens at the end here.
I thought this was a lot of fun. It's a buy for me.
Yeah,
it's definitely a buy.
I just had some issues getting fully engaged in the story, just, obviously because I didn't read a whole bunch of Doctor Strange's second book when I stopped reading his first book. And when I stopped reading his first book was right about the time when this one came out. So I'm a little behind on my Doctor Strange. I do need to do some catching up, but I might have been more fully invested if I beginning, because I despite not being a huge Doctor Strange fan, when you do get into the books, they are really interesting. There's a lot of, just stuff to read about and know about as far as that character goes, and I find them interesting overall. Aside from all that being pretty much my own fault, the ending felt a little kind of rushed to the finish line. So again, I don't know how much of that feeling is just me or really the book's fault. So I don't really hold all that against it too much, not having done a whole lot of homework this weekend, being holidays and all. So other than the art not being too fluent and a little stiff, I did enjoy it. I thought it was colorful, and I do like the magic books and stuff, and the crazy shit you see when you open them up. So overall, like, the idea and everything was pretty cool. And I wouldn't say forget it altogether. It would be more of a borrow for me. And with the potential to move up if I read the entire arc and saw this through to the finish. Because being stuck in a book and going after a hand monster is a cool concept, if you ask me. So,
yeah.
Other
the first two issues.
Yeah,
the first two issues were really crazy too.
Yeah, I imagine there's no villain in any Doctor Strange book that I've really read that I've been disappointed by. The only thing that sucks is that a lot of those villains just kind of get pigeonholed as only Doctor Strange villains and don't really cross over with any of our other heroes too often, because it's hard to combat magic when you're not a magic a magic hero. Those guys, a lot of the times, if they run into somebody magic related, go weaseling to Doctor Strange's doorstep for a little help. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
that's my one beef with Doctor Strange. He's got some cool villains that I'd like to see in other books personally.
But it's usually self-contained,
Yeah. So other than that, it's definitely a borrow for me. So we hit all three. We got to forget, a borrow, and a buy. So I would say, that book is, if you're a big time Doctor Strange fan, it's probably definitely for you. If you're dip your toes into Doctor Strange and see what's going on, you might want to, pick up one of the arcs and see it through and see if it's your style. So I think we're kind of in agreement that would be a good way to treat this book, maybe.
I wouldn't just read this as a solo issue. You'd have to get full art.
No, yeah,
you
definitely.
Gotta go back.
Definitely. It's one of those. which is a good thing. Those are the books I prefer, to be honest with you. I like a one shot to give me a break every once in a while, but it's not how I like to read my comics wholesale, I would say. And with that being said, we're going to lead into the second book, which is going to be our IVX section before a quick little break here. And that is going to be Jean Grey, number 3. So this is going to be Trevitt's section. You got the solicit up and everything. You ready to go?
Oh, yeah, I'm ready to go.
All right, take it from here. Jean Grey 3.
I'll start with the solicit. So, desperate to find any information that will help her stave off possession by the Phoenix, Jean Grey ventures to Atlantis to entreat its surliest former host, Namor the Submariner. I fucked that up. Jesus Christ. Namor the Submariner. But Namor has his own fish to fry, and when Jean is swept up in the king's madness, will she find herself in over her head? I guess not, actually. No, but the writer is Dennis Hopeless. Victor Ibanez does the pencils. Actually, I think he does the art in general, right? Yeah, he does the inks, the color. Oh, no, not the color. He just does the inks. So he does the inks and the pencils. Layouts, whatever the hell that means. I see that.
I know. I don't understand what that means either.
I don't know. I've seen that so many times.
Lines for the artist. Is that what you do?
Yeah.
You're like, I'm going to draw these boxes for you to color in.
Like, I arranged the what's it called? Oh my God, I'm drawing a fucking blank. The little squares. I arranged the panels. Like maybe that's what it is.
I really have no idea what that means. We'll have to look that up. Maybe that'll be our closing segment next week. What does a layout artist do?
I've seen finishes. Like I've seen things say finishes, and I always guess that means finishing up the art. You know what I mean? Like doing all the finishing touches. I mean that's self-explanatory, but anyway. Layouts is and this asshole's name has to be like really hard to pronounce too, right? I don't even know what you do, and your name has to be impossible to pronounce. Anyway, it's Al
Nuevo.
there you go, Barry Nuevo. That sounds right.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
It totally does. We'll go with that. I'm good with that. And colorists are J. David Ramos and Dono Sanchez Almara, with letters by VC's Travis Lanham. And the cover's done by David Yarden.
Whatever VCs is, that's where I want to work. I want to be a comic book letterer.
I know.
They seem to be all over everything, so they probably make pretty decent money. You know what I'm saying?
Sounds like a fantastic job.
Always working, and they get to read the books first, basically.
Yeah. I think they do all the Marvel books, because there's not a Marvel book where you don't see VC's Joe Caramanga, Travis Lanham, or Clayton Cowles. Clayton Cowles is like the czar of VC's lettering department. Like, but the cover art is done by David Yarden, and those covers are just fucking incredible. And,
that monster on the cover is the Thing of Nightmares.
Yeah, it really is.
I'm going to tell you something. That monster has grabbed my. I keep interrupting you, but this monster has grabbed my attention so much, like throughout the week, that I haven't even noticed. Neymar is Neymar. How do you say it?
Namor. Is in the background.
I never noticed him. Literally right now, while we're sitting here, that's the first time, because I've just been staring this monster in the eyes all week.
Trident and all. I love the detail, like the eyes. They even have like pupils and lips, teeth. Like everything looks great. Like it really is. And the Russell Dauterman variant cover looked amazing too. Yeah,
I put it up for covers of the week on the Marvel segment, because I started doing that article for Marvel Mondays. So I have a covers of the week thing on WeirdScienceDC.com, and this was one of them. So I loved it that much. The goddamn monster is fucking frightening and awesome all at the same time.
Definitely deserves it. And I gotta say, like, even though the interior, it's not the same person, but it's just as detailed. Like when you go to that first page and you see Jean Grey's face and that mask, like it just looks so damn good.
Yeah, it's a good book. It's a good book artistically, definitely.
Most funny side note to that is he did a lot of Extraordinary X-Men issues, and I did not like them. But here, I love his art.
Yeah,
it's just fucking weird.
Maybe anyway, he warmed up on all the team, and now that he just gets to draw Jean, it's just easier to put more detail into it, because you don't got 8 other goddamn characters on the page at all times.
And
that makes sense.
So
that makes sense. It really is. Even like the little stuff, like when you get like the little like rectangle panels at the bottom, and it looks like he drew it big and then they shrunk it down and put it in there. Like it just looks so damn good. But
tell us about it.
So, all right, we start off this issue with Jean deep in the ocean, looking a little freaked out because she feels like she's being stalked. Then she turns to see a giant dragon-type sea creature, and swims off and ducks for cover. Where was I? It's all condensed. Yeah, she swings off and ducks for cover behind some rocks and gets ready to attack with her telekinesis. Just as she's ready to side blast, she gets knocked back, which kind of confused me because I didn't know if she got knocked back from her side blast or if
I didn't get this part either. I was lost.
I was thinking maybe because you're underwater and you don't have any leverage. When she just did that forceful blast, it kind of knocked her back because she wasn't expecting it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or because you're lighter. You know what I'm saying? You don't weigh anything in the water, and you know you can lift heavier things, so to speak. So maybe because her lack of weight, she went flying. I don't really understand what's going on there either.
Yeah. Probably there's a dozen reasons, but they don't really get into it. But it's just, I was wondering when I was reading it. But so then the creature is right on top of her and ready to eat, and we get this splash page that just looks incredible. Like that monster looks horrifying with all that teeth.
It's a different monster from the cover, though. It looks like, doesn't it? I was a little disappointed by that.
Yeah,
it is. It's bigger. It looks way bigger.
Yeah, it's huge.
And the monster one looked, even though it was smaller, it somehow was equally, if not a little bit more terrifying. I don't know why on the cover, but this one is nothing to shake a stick at. It's still terrifying because it's going to swallow you and you're not getting out. But so the creature's right on top of her. It's ready to eat her, and luckily at this point, Namor shows up, and he throws his trident and stabs the dragon. I'm going to call it a dragon because later on in the issue, that's what they end up calling it. It's like a sea dragon.
Yeah.
And
well, they call it a kraken too at one point.
Yeah, he calls it a kraken. Ready for you, kraken. And he's like laying down. So he comes in, saves the day, throws his trident, stabs the dragon, and still has time to insult Jean while doing it. So that's after all. After all, this is Namor we're talking about, and he's a huge overconfident douchebag. So
it's not nice to anybody if he likes you or not.
Yeah, he's never nice. He's never nice. Even Jean comments to herself at that point in time how nobody likes Namor.
Yeah. The reason you don't leave the water too often, buddy.
Yeah.
You don't have any friends up here.
And half the time when you see him in other books, he's like sitting on his throne by himself, looking all miserable. You know what I mean? Because nobody wants to hang around with Namor. The only people he's ever been cool with is Captain America and the original Human Torch and some of the X-Men when it pleased him. You know what I mean? Yeah. Otherwise, everybody pretty much hates his ass. Next, Jean runs for cover while Namor battles the beast. In the midst of the fight, Namor takes a lash to the back and is bleeding. Then Namor and Jean take off at high speed. Jean asks Namor to slow down so she can catch up because her telekinesis, making her go faster underwater is, making her tired, which I think is bullshit. She just wants him to slow up because she wants to talk to him about I like that because it just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I mean, maybe it's true. I don't know anything about telekinesis because it doesn't actually exist. But when you can move things with your mind, yeah, right. Like, but I think like when you can move things with your mind, like even Yoda says it in Star Wars, like it's only as heavy as you make it. And like since you are moving it with your mind, weight, force, those things are just not an option. Like it doesn't matter because it's however you imagine. You know what I mean? Like if you can move things with your mind, you can move it. You know what I mean? And she's an Omega level mutant. So
maybe there's an imaginary mind gas tank none of us know about, and she's spending it all swimming through the goddamn water, and she knows this monster is on their ass.
But yeah, I mean, I always ask myself these dumb questions because I'm a nerd, and that's what we do. But so they slow down. She wants to talk to him and ask him about the Phoenix Force because she's on a mission right now looking for everybody who's been infected by the Phoenix. Well, like who's been a host for the Phoenix Force. He brushes her off.
Yeah, she basically wants to know why he's not crazy and always stewing over it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Why is everybody else like damaged by it except for him? But a giant dragon sea creature is hunting them. Oh Jesus! I fucking lost my spot in my notes. Like I'm such a retard. Anyone's on the kitchen talking to the Phoenix. Namor is super powerful. Oh yeah. Here we go. I lost my place. I feel like a retard. There we go.
They're kind of like
so they stopped.
All the sharks come swimming at him.
Yeah. So they stopped. They wanted to talk, and Namor's just being a dick, and she reminds him that she's like super powerful, and he's like, okay, fine. Even though he's like very reluctant, he's like, fine, I'll agree to we'll talk about this, but right now we got to get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? So they're on their way, but they're moving slower for some strange reason, I guess, because Jean is tired. And Jean's giving him the skinny on what's going down in the past 2 issues and expressing her fear for what's going to happen to her after the Phoenix leaves her. Because everybody who's hosted the Phoenix was left with some kind of irreparable damage. And for one reason or another, Jean believes Namor was the only one who was unscathed by it. Namor responds like a dick, telling her she is nowhere near as terrifying as the original Jean Grey, and she couldn't even handle the Phoenix Force. Next thing you know, sharks, fish, whales, everything else under the ocean starts barreling towards them. And Jean's asking, where are they all coming from? Like, what the hell is going on? And next thing you know, you see the giant sea monster eating a fucking killer whale, and then sharks are just falling down with their heads ripped off.
Yeah, they're all bitten in half. Yeah, they all got giant chunks bitten out of them.
Yeah, it's freaking crazy. And then Namor lunges at the dragon all Imperious Rex style, because, normally, and I'm surprised they didn't do it here, normally when Namor rushes off into battle, the first thing he screams is Imperious Rex, but we don't get that here. But he doesn't get far, because he got his backlashing. He got more than just a slice across the back. The dragon has a paralytic that is secreted on the blades of its tail. So Namor tenses up and falls, while Jean provides cover for him by punching the dragon in the face with telekinesis. And then she grabs his trident and swims after him. She grabs Namor and swims to the ocean. It's the ocean floor, I believe, but I also feel like they're in a cave, even though, the art is really good, but
I feel like they went down like a crack. They kind of went down. If you look in that bottom second panel, you can see them coming out like a crack in a cave.
Oh, yeah. Now I can see it. I didn't notice that when I read it. Because I didn't see that little crack. I just thought they were swimming downward, So I just thought
I didn't really notice that.
Like, where did they go?
Either. Yeah, because I did notice the first time I was reading, like they end up in this cave. I'm like, how are they in a cave? I'm fucking, but now I see.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know what the fuck happened. So she grabs him and they head towards that cave. She puts him down. Namor tells Jean it's only a matter of time until it finds them. So she might as well take a peek into his mind now while they have the time. So now she's in her mind. She's in his mind, and it looks fucking nuts. There are like dead Atlanteans everywhere. It's lit up like there's a fire, like a huge fire. And, she finds out that Namor is no more lucky than any of the other Phoenix hosts and is also permanently scarred. Jean calls him on it, because she's disappointed, and she thought she was going to get some answers and finally some way to beat the Phoenix or fend it off, but she gets nothing more than what she got with like the last 5 Phoenix hosts, which from the last issue, which I don't know if you guys read the last issue, but it was pretty fucking crazy. And then Namor pitches a little fit, because you know how Namor is, and he's like, I'm the king of Atlantis. I've lived in a dozen lifetimes. Like, how the fuck dare you like tell me I'm less than these fucking other schmucks? You know what I mean? Because that's Namor.
Well, he's also being. I feel like he's also being a dick here, because Jean has this impression of him that the Phoenix Force didn't bother him, and he lets her in the mind, and she immediately finds out it is still haunting him. You know what I'm saying? So
And
his only reaction to all that would be to lash out.
Yeah, because it's her disappointment. Because she's looking at him like, oh, you're just as pathetic as everybody else, and he just like loses his shit. Like, I'm King Namor. I'm big and tough. Nobody fucks. Fuck you, bitch. Like that.
Yeah.
So
even though he's laying paralyzed on the ocean floor like a bitch.
But so she hops out of his mind, disappointed. She didn't get anything that she was looking for, and she asks Namor if he thinks the dragon's going to find them. You know, maybe they can wait the venom out and swim away together. And I thought this was funny because Namor laughs and he's like, and perhaps the Phoenix has forgotten about you. He's like, perhaps all the monsters have given up so we can all live happily ever after. Like, you're all sarcastic.
That was a good line.
I love that.
I did like that.
It was good. But, like, you know, let's be real. That's not going to happen. And then the dragon comes crashing through the wall of the cave that they were hiding in, and Jean in a panic asks Namor what to do. He tells her when it gets here she should just go through the hole and leave him behind, and asks for his trident. Jean refuses and proceeds to kick the ever-living shit out of that fucking monster. She's like throwing side blasts, like rocks are flying at it. She's, you know, she gets the monster on the ropes, and then she just fucking repeatedly stabs the thing. And it looks like she's stabbing it in the tail, she's stabbing it in the eye, and then she just keeps stabbing it in the head, and the fucking thing's dead.
Yeah, I like the middle panel. It's like on page 18 on my digital copy. She's like almost in the mouth of this thing, and it looks like she's throwing like sea rocks at it, and you can see it flying off from all the rocks hitting it.
I love that. That was so dope.
Like she's sending them flying into its mouth, killing the thing, and it just starts dropping.
And
then the page after that, sorry, Carl, go ahead.
I was gonna say I love the page after that when Namor's response to Tadpole no more as she's going to throw the killing blow.
Yeah, because he kept calling her Tadpole.
She's using her telekinesis to stab it like harder and faster. You know what I mean? To be more vicious and have more strict. Because, you know, if you use telekinesis, you basically have like super strength. You can fly. You can do whatever the fuck you want. You know what I mean? So she's using that telekinesis to like give like forceful stabs into the thing's head. It's just pretty fucking badass. And then when she rips the trident out and all the blood's like leaking off it, it's pretty freaking awesome. And you know, Namor congratulates her, give her props. You know, maybe she's stronger than he thought. Maybe she does have a chance. And he tells her to fight with everything she has, you know. Maybe she could not defeat the Phoenix, but stave it off, you know. And if you're lucky, maybe defeat it and, you know, live to see another day. Maybe she is strong enough to fight it and not have the irreparable damage that everybody else seems to have. And that leads us to the cover of the next issue, which is her. You know, she's going to seek out Thor and train with Thor so she could, you know, be a warrior, which is that's going to be badass. Like, I just can't wait for that.
Yeah, that does look sweet. I'm curious if she almost like takes it as a foregone conclusion the Phoenix will eventually find her, or if she's trying to prepare to fight it off so it doesn't actually take her over. You know what I'm saying?
I think she's trying to, like, she knows it's an inevitability. Like the last issue, everybody told her, like, if the Phoenix is coming for you and the Phoenix wants you, there's really nothing you can do about it. Like, it's gonna take over you, and she's just trying to find a way to like survive and not be damaged like everybody else. You know what I mean? Because for some reason the Phoenix has a thing for the Greys.
And then the only other last jokey comment I have for this issue is in the very last panel. Where it says next, a warrior in training, and she's got the spear, like she looks kind of Mara-esque, but she also looks Sansa from the X-Men movies. Doesn't she look a lot like her in that panel?
Oh yeah, she does. She does. which is cool though. That makes sense.
Yeah, I'm like, she totally looks like Sansa Stark in that panel.
I love that the next cover because, you know, Thor's got the axe and then she has that telekinetic hammer in her hand.
Yeah.
Psi hammer. I was like, that's gonna be something. Oh, I can't wait for that.
Yeah, it should be fun. All right, so we're gonna wrap up this issue. Trevitt's gonna kick it off for us with his thoughts as far as buy, borrow, or forget go for Jean Grey, number 3 in the IVX section.
All right, so I'm gonna talk about it as a whole because it really stems from the story that started in the first issue, which the first issue I was iffy on, and then the last page made me super curious. Like, this book is not at all what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be my least favorite X book, and it's either my favorite or my second favorite. The second issue sold me hardcore, and this issue was nice. It wasn't as action packed as the last issue, but it almost was, but it didn't have to be. And there were a few things I had a problem with. It wasn't as perfect as the last one, but overall the art was incredible. It was amazing, super detailed. You could see, facial expressions, like certain moments, like someone gets hurt and you could see that, like Namor, when he gets the slash in the back, you can spot one of his eyes, like he looks like he's wincing, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
And that goes a long way. Stuff like that goes a long way with me. Like, I really like detail and things like that, because I don't believe, like, usually artists don't get a lot of credit for storytelling, and I believe that they are a big part of the storytelling. I believe that they shape the story, and I think Victor Ibanez does a great job here. This is a buy for me. Definitely a buy for me.
What about you, Carl? What do you think? Buy, borrow, or forget Jean Grey #3?
Oh, man. I may have given away my thoughts on Twitter a couple days early when someone was talking about the X books and wanted comments. But the art in this book is fantastic. Hands down, I think it was the best colored, best drawn book that we've covered this week. The story, Dennis Hopeless just keeps hitting me in all the right places with his writing. Like, when I went on to this first issue, just like Trevitt, I was hesitant. I was like, okay, I don't know how this is going to go. Second issue turned that around for me. This is slowly beginning to be my favorite X book of the Resurrection line. This is definitely a buy for me. Namor's lines were witty, and it just kept a comic relief building through the whole thing. Like, he had just nothing but shit to say to her until she proved her worth, and he's like, all right, kid, you got what it takes.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with everybody else and rate this one a buy. As far as just a way to tell what should be kind of a boring talking back and forth issue with somebody just trying to get information out of Namor, which is usually a tough thing to do. They find a cool way to tell it. So I appreciate, that them just kind of getting in a fight used as a way to explore each other. So I thought that was a cool way just to get everybody sucked into a comic that had a specific purpose and not in a boring way. The art was definitely fantastic. I love the Kraken monster, or whatever you want to call it. I was a little disappointed it wasn't that scary monster from the cover, because I wanted more of that thing. But I was over that quick. That's a stupid complaint to have. It was still a monster like that. That thing on the cover, though, looked like it's Satan's spawn of that bigger monster we got in the issue. Overall, I liked the feature of Namor. He's not somebody you get to see a whole bunch. He doesn't have his own book, which is kind of weird with the way Marvel dishes out solo titles nowadays, that Namor's never gotten really a try in recent memory. So
I agree.
I just like the fact that he's a prick, and I like having him around. Like, he's like an adult Damien almost. You know what I'm saying?
He really is.
And I love Damien, so I love Namor. Even though I can't pronounce his name all the time, and I say it like Continuity, but anyway, I agree with everybody else. That's a buy for me, and it's not a book I'll get hard copies of, but I'll definitely go back and read 1 and 2. And probably get 4 and buy this one for a little bit digitally and keep up with it, because it does look like she's just kind of going around, and there's different characters featured in the title, and the stories don't feel necessary, just like wastes and filler. It's cool. It's got an overarching purpose, and I'm down with all that.
Yeah.
So
that's what I love. I love that, like, he found a story where he could bring a ton of characters in, and it doesn't feel forced or needless. Like, she's on this mission. So many people have dealt with the Phoenix Force that it just makes sense. And then, if she wants to harden herself and become a warrior so she can, fight this off from within, or, do whatever she has to do, you know, who would you rather train with than, you know, a god who just does nothing but battle people all the time? Like,
and as we learned from the Marvel Minute earlier this week, we also know she's going to be a ninja, so she's well on her way to taking care of this goddamn Phoenix Force.
I think this might be the best X book.
Yeah, it's pretty
agree.
good. I do like it. I got to read the other issues to go out on that limb and say that, but I did like 3 a lot, and it makes me want to read the other ones, and I'm pumped for it. So I'll take it out of a review folder on my iPad, and I'll put it into its own folder labeled Jean Grey. You know what I'm saying? So it earned that right at least.
Yeah. No, see, this story leaves me up. I want to know who's going to be in it next after the Thor issue. Who's she going to seek out next to make her better?
Yeah, if you really want to find out, you can probably just Google it and see the cover for issue 6.
Nah, I'll wait. I'll wait till I read it because I like the surprise when it comes out of after the issue's over.
Yeah,
I think eventually at some point we'll be going to space, but
yeah, I think she's headed that way as well. Anyway, we're gonna end the first book section, so I can have an easier time editing everything together. And we're going to come back at you guys after this little PSA with the midpoint Marvelous Facts. All right, so let me stop this one. Wow. I'm going to take a piss break real quick and then send a new invite out.
Yeah, me too.
All right.
I'm sweating like
crazy.
Let's
take 5. We'll take 5 here.
All right.
All right, cool.